They called me a poser. They called me, they called me a player. They called me, it was stuff like that I didn't really think I just kind of blew it off, but it really did have an impact.
I had a really great family, and everything went well through elementary school and everything like that until I kind of started to try to find myself, and automatically the world just began to tell me that I wasn't good enough and that I wasn't pretty enough and that I wasn't skinny enough and smart enough, and I was never really going to be.
At the time, I just kind of blew it off and act like I didn't hear it or understand, or just blew it off, but it really did make an impact later because it all seemed to come back on top of me.
I decided that there had to be something more. And so I just began looking wherever I could, and I started, partying and drinking by the time I was in 8th grade.
I felt like I was losing my closest friends, and they weren't there for me anymore. And I still felt like that I was failing at everything. I was just so worthless, and it led me to make a horrible decision.
I was dating guys left and right, just trying to find someone who was going to tell me that I was good enough and really accept me for me, and no one ever did. Everyone always just kind of beat me down more and more, and I always came up short.
The question just came to my mind of having suicidal thoughts at school and how I should my life was, pretty much worthless, and if anybody at school knew that I died, they wouldn't care. And they would just be like, oh, well, who cares? Nobody really talked to him or whatever. And so I just finally decided, this is it for me.
I felt really lost, but I literally felt like I was standing in a crowded place just screaming, just like crying for someone to tell me that there was anything good about me. I had friends who would just constantly tell me that I wasn't good enough, that literally would say, you can't do this because you're not skinny enough. You can't do this because you're not pretty enough. You're not smart enough. You can't go to this school. You can't fulfill all these dreams that you have because you're not good enough and you're not gonna be. And it was just all of these negative words spoken over me, and it just really got to me.
So I got in my room and I wrote a suicide letter that was 2.5 pages long, backwards and forwards. I constructed this noose out of 3 leather belts. About that time, I was getting ready to go through with my entire plan. My dad and my sister walked in just to check on me to see what I was doing, and they realized what I was doing, and it was the most upsetting thing. My mom walks in and they're all, in tears and crying and so mortified and so upset. My dad, I've never seen my dad cry like he did, and begged me to stay. And he said, if you're going to live for something, at least just be here for me because you're my son. It's just like God hit me and said, just I gave my life for you on a cross, and I took the ultimate sacrifice for you. If you could just give me your life, I can work through you and do so many great things. It was then and there that I just realized that there is something out there to live for, and I'm not worthless in his eyes. I mean, I don't care what anybody else. It's just kind of like I got a feeling of I have worth, and it's through him because I have worth, not through anybody else.
I always knew the truth. I knew a lot about God. I couldn't believe that I was an actual child of the living God. And I think I just had a moment where it was just a revelation that it was true, and that it was real, and that God was real, and that I was real in him, and that he made me completely new. And not only did he change me, he gave me new life. He gave me a new heart and a new mind.
It's not about me. It's not about what I want. It's not about trying to find validation on people on earth, because they're not perfect. They're always going to let you down. There's only one perfect person who can give you validation and give you self-worth, and that's Jesus Christ, who's given his life for you. He deserves for us to live for him.
The Lord just began to bring people into my life that would speak life over me and just speak good things over me, and I got involved in small groups. Everyone was telling me, God has a huge plan for you. God's going to use you in such mighty ways.
I let negative words come into my life and take me to a place where I wanted to end it. But I chose to listen to God, and through him, he made me whole.
I let words define who I was and tear me apart. When I finally listened to the truth of God and what he had for me, he made me whole.